on every axis, in naval cooperation, in military strategic alliances, and military training, defense cooperation and organization, nuclear cooperation. So all these issues, in the 21st century, the direction is very clear. America needs Pakistan only tactically right now for their crisis in Afghanistan. Once the Afghanistan issue for them is resolved, Americans will turn their back against Pakistan, we know it, and Pakistan is hedging its bets for that time now, for forging strategic alliances and relationship with China, that in the coming days, inshallah, Pakistan, China, Iran, Russia, Turkey, and the regional countries would be forming a larger Asian security bloc, which would be countering the American hegemonistic designs in the region, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. Sir, I'll expand on that question. Hillary Clinton's latest visit to Pakistan can be blamed upon the issue of the Afghan trade agreement, which in reality is a benefit to India, of course. We have been mentioning that for a long time. And also another wave of the government of Pakistan failing to deliver completely. So do you think that Hillary Clinton's visit is just a mild or a sly sign that things are about to get worse?
I'm sorry, Tariq, I lost your question. Would you please kindly repeat the question again?
Yes. Hillary Clinton's latest visit to Pakistan can be blamed upon the issue of the Afghan the treaty being signed, which in reality is a benefit to India, of course. And also another wave of the government of Pakistan failing to deliver in such a spectacular fashion that we see today. So do you think that where we stand right now, the Hillary Clinton's visit is actually just a whitewashing, and it will make things worse in the coming years?
You see, Tariq, as I said, the Americans, as they are confused in Afghanistan, they're equally confused in Islamabad also.
Right.
We have been patronizing two corrupt governments, one of Karzai, other of Zardari. And both the governments have hopelessly failed to deliver what the Americans wanted.
Yes.
And Americans now realizing this, that they have no choice but to fall back and talk to the Pakistani armed forces, which are patriotic, which are nationalist, which defend Pakistan's interests.
Right.
So, and similarly, you saw the Indian delegation's visit. The Pakistani government was going almost overboard to give concessions to the Indians, but suddenly, when the Pakistan army sent signals to the government to behave, immediately you saw that even the foreign minister, the incompetent foreign minister, had to pretend a tiger, even though we know what his reality is.
Right.
So the fact of the matter is that now the world is realizing, as the national security crisis grows in Pakistan, Pakistan army, we know, is not going to remain a silent spectator for long. They do not want to come in politics. They do not want to interfere. But they definitely don't want the government to rock the boat so much that the national security become a grave crisis for the nation.
Right.
The Supreme Court and the government, they are colliding with each other. And the government is corrupt, they're incompetent. They've got fake educational degrees. They don't have the mandate, the moral and political mandate to change the constitution, to pass the 18th Amendment, to talk about provincial autonomy, or to do all those national security mismanagement which they are doing. They don't have the mandate to do that, for the simple reason because they're all corrupt and they've got corruption cases on them.
Right.
So Supreme Court is doing a wonderful job, and this is where the nation and the armed forces are hoping that Supreme Court would be able to deliver what its mandate is, that get rid of this corrupt government. And once that is done, a caretaker setup, a caretaker political setup to clean up the mess which has been created in the last 2 years or 2.5 years of this government, particularly on the issues of terrorism and corruption. And once that part is clean, then probably then the next step would be to move towards a more stable political order, whether to replace the system or to improve upon it. But that's the latest stage. The immediate stage is getting rid of the government, part one, part two, cleaning up the mess, and part three, stabilizing the system later. Right. Americans know this.
Right.
They are trying to deal with this government, knowing fully well that this government cannot deliver.
Right.
So whatever this government can deliver, Americans are trying to grab. Like, for example, recently, they have passed, Pakistan government has passed a law, or they have passed instructions that the Pakistani ambassador in America, Mr. Hussain Haqqani, will get more powers to issue visas to suspicious people without the clearance of the ISI, which basically means that ISI was resisting visas to certain suspicious Americans from the Blackwaters and XC and all these private security contractors.
Right.
But the presidency have issued orders that the Pakistani ambassador, Mr. Haqqani, must be given more powers so that he can issue visas to all those suspect people who are blacklisted by the Pakistani security intelligence agencies.
Right.
So these kind of work Americans are trying to take out from this government, but this is not going to last very long, that I can assure you.
Right.
The Pakistani nation has seen through it. The frustration levels are high. The mismanagement governance crises are very strong. And while Hillary tries to pretend they are talking to the Democratic government, they know very well that that's not where the power lies. The power lies with the people, the power lies with the armed forces, and the power lies with the patriots.
Right.
And sooner they will be talking to them too.
Right. Sir, two last questions. My second question is, has Pakistani nation completely lost favor with the Americans? And is Hillary another, I mean, we already have seen her as a front. So Hillary seems to be another sly move to calm the masses, or a mistake, which will develop into an outrage anger, which will consume the government. Do you think this is so?
You see, Pakistani people are not anti-American as such.
Right.
The difference is that Pakistani people are against the policies of the US government.
Right.
Speaking against the policies of the US government is not anti-Americanism.
Right.
It is not against the people of America. So many Pakistanis live in America. So many Pakistanis want to go to America.
Right.
People love the American society, their openness, their technology, their advances, their opportunities. But nobody likes to be humiliated, disrespected, and undignified, in an undignified manner, the way the US government treats us. So basically what is happening is that the change in Pakistan, the mood, the temperament, the psyops, right, which the Americans were waging against Pakistan to win the battle of hearts and minds, they have lost it totally. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
Americans have spent almost $50 million into Pakistani media only for 1 year, just to bring about the perception change in the Pakistani people. That's not happening.
Right.
The money that the Americans are giving to Pakistani government, everybody knows, will be siphoned back into the Swiss bank accounts, and nothing will come down to the Pakistani people.
Right.
People know that as well. So even there are talks within the US Senate and the US government of auditing the fund and the aid that is being given to Pakistan for the so-called civilian development projects, because everybody knows that everything that is being given is already being siphoned back in massive hemorrhage of financial resources and corruption. So Americans have no hope, no future for Pakistan, unless and until they leave these areas, unless and until they start to have a responsible, mature, dignified, a mutually coexistent relationship with Pakistan.
Right.
The temperament, the mood, the anger in Pakistani nation and the armed forces is very strong. Armed forces are more stable.
Right.
Armed forces can contain their anger and deal at more professional level.
Right.
But the anger within the people and the civil society is almost overflowing now.
Right.
Americans have decisively lost the war for hearts and minds of the Pakistani people. The sooner they realize it, the better for them. Otherwise, Americans would be the long-term losers in the region. They've already lost it. They know it themselves. They're desperate, as they are desperate to find some kind of exit strategy in Afghanistan.
Right.
They're desperately trying to find some kind of face-saving reprieve in Pakistani public and civil society. They're not getting it despite all the effort, despite all the money they've pumped in.
Right.
They should realize that the American policies have made people very aware of what their regional and global designs against Pakistan are.
Right. Sir, one last question. You have often talked about a led coalition between the all major Muslim states, for example, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, in order to oust the American cancer from the roots in Afghanistan. Do you think that bringing such an action into effect strengthen Pakistan more in every aspect? How will it do that?
You see, a very simple point. In Africa, you have an African Corps, you have an African Union force, right, which goes into dispute regions where African forces go and they handle their own region.
Right.
Similarly, in Europe, in Bosnian crisis, they sent a multi-UN force which went there to handle these kind of crisis situations. Right. Within the Muslim heartland, we should understand the psychology, the mentality, the history, the mindset, the culture of the Afghans as well. Right. Afghans would never accept an occupation force. Never. They have never accepted it. Historically, from Alexander right up to the Americans, everybody should read history and should know. Right. But Afghans are very soft. Afghans are very kind towards their Muslim brothers who come to assist them and help them. And this is perhaps the only hope that the region has, that a Muslim peacekeeping force should move into Afghanistan to basically bring about an order and bring the Afghans together. Because you see, the Tajiks and the Uzbeks, The Hazaras and the Pashtuns, they're all Afghan.